Hi, everybody. Thank you for. All right. Thank you. Anyway, like I said, gonna try and do this every day. Maybe we'll react to this stuff one day. I. Speaking of that, Alex Rosen. I don't particularly. I mean, I like what he does, but I think he's too nice. If you ever watch any of the pedophile catching stuff, you should. Although I do specifically like this video because this is where where he bites down a little bit more. He has a little bit more fight. He's too nice in the other videos. And I do like him because we kind of look the same. He's another where he's a 27, bald, bearded community. I gotta respect the brother, the young, bald community. We stick together. Oh, I only wish I was as successful as him. He's probably way taller than me, but that's okay. Anyway, let's get to this video. Courtney Elizabeth. Watch some of her videos. She's a little bit meaner. I like that she's meaner. But I don't like Trilogy Media because I feel like they're too serious. I like Skeeter Jean. I like how much he makes it kind of a joke. Yeah, we caught you, bitch. That kind of stuff. I like making a joke out of it. Like, yeah, we caught you. Now we're going to clown on you. I don't know. I think if you're talking about a serious topic like that, you need to have some levity. And you basically caught him anyway, so you might as well just clown on the fucker. Anyway, yeah, let's do this. By the way, yes, it would. I just needed to update my laptop.
Oh boy, is this becoming the Jordan Peterson channel? Because this is like the third video in a row that relies on one of his quotes to start a conversation. While I do like Jordan Peterson to a point, I also recognize that when he gets out of his psychology wheelhouse, he's honestly a little bit shaky. The psych stuff is 100% on point, but his career shift...
I don't know about that. I've talked to a therapist about Jordan Peterson. He said he didn't like him. I don't watch him particularly myself, but everything that I've seen him say in random videos, I agree with. So I think I would agree with him on a lot of stuff.
Shifted away from psychology to being a pop scientist years ago, and his non-psych takes are hit and miss. But nonetheless, there's a few clips from his recent Andy No video that have gone viral, and one specific clip the left has decided to repost and mock everywhere. So I would like to analyze it because I think it actually contains some wisdom.
What is the psychology of this mock?
How old is Jordan Peterson? Because he looks old, but he can't be that old. Daughter's good looking though. Daughter's in her 20s, right? '62. Okay, he definitely looks it. No, yeah. Daughter good looking though. He looks 62. It must have been that. I know he did like a meat diet, all meat diet. That's probably what did it to him. He said it really sucked.
Mob violence. When I see it,
you had some veggies in there, some fruits.
Like I don't even recognize some of these. They seem animalistic, is what I mean.
No, they're worse than animals. They're worse than animals because animals, they just kill to eat.
human beings, they have a twist in them that makes them far worse than animals when they really get going. Well, I think
cats play with the food sometimes.
I think you really want to know what I think? I think it's revenge against God for the crime of being. That's really what I think. It's Cain and Cain and Abel. It's like, oh, Abel's your guy, eh? God, how about if I take him out in the field and beat him to death? How do you feel about that? All my sacrifices went unrewarded.
Now, that actually does sound a bit too dramatic, and boy, did Twitter not hesitate to point out exactly how dramatic it sounds.
I think what Jordan Peterson is trying to say that is the youth tend to rebel against, whatever the establishment is. Like, that's what goths are, and that's what the youth does. They rebel against what considered normal or what their parents do, basically. That's why a lot of kids start doing drugs and all this stuff, because you're just told to not do that stuff, and you wanna get out of your parents. You want to get out under their thumb. That's what a lot of kids want to do.
I'll let these reactions scroll by on the screen while we talk about this. Feel free to pause at any time and read these in detail.
Let's read some of them. Share with me your own brand of revenge against God for the crime of being. Cure journalist Andy Ngo, Professor Emeritus Jordan Peterson, how psychology can explain why Antifa is so evil and bad. Jordan B. Peterson says it's revenge against God for the crime of being. Then he starts crying. He cries a lot, honestly, but I think that's just what he does.
Because this clip has like 3,000 quote tweets, and the vast majority of them are terminally online leftist activists with pit crew avatars, flags, and emojis representing their support of the current thing in their name, and comments that don't actually count as anything even resembling a real analysis. Just making fun of the man because they don't like him. And they find the idea that the foundation upon which they're...
That's what I also hate. A lot of people making fun of people, but not saying actual things, not saying substantial things. Just saying, you mocking him, you bastards. See? Well, this one I think is defending him.
where violent socialist activism sits is a hatred of life itself. How can that be, they say? We're for the working class, after all. We want to ameliorate the material conditions of everybody. We want freedom. We want good ends and harm reduction and equality and every other buzzword you can think of that the left likes to label itself with in an effort to claim the moral high ground. But as Peter...
You can't have equality. Everyone can't be equal. Everyone's going to want to pursue different things. It's just life. Everyone is just going to not want to do things. Everyone is just going to be on different levels to begin with. You know, you can't level things out and expect everything to be great. Some people are going to take advantage of it. Some people, you know.
Peterson said in that same interview, it's not any sort of moral high ground that causes them to laugh at suffering.
There was a man that was targeted by the mob. He was accused of being right-wing. Whatever accusation is true or false, I don't know. But he was beaten up. They got him on the ground, and then one of them, with glee, rushed at his head and kicked his teeth in. And you could actually see the teeth on the ground. And
what do you mean what do you mean by with glee? Why that phrase?
The crowd around him celebrated that act, was calling this person a fascist.
Rather, it's that they've convinced themselves that their cause is so righteous that anybody who opposes them must be ontologically evil by default, and they can do what they will with them. Or at least that's the...
Imagine thinking you're so right. I mean, this happens a lot, but Jesus, it's something as simple as a political opinion. I mean, it's not simple, but you know what I mean. Like, I mean, someone clearly just, I don't know enough about the situation probably, but he probably didn't deserve it.
That's the reason that they tell themselves. No, really, that's actually the text of a common meme right now that they love to use.
I wake up knowing my enemies are ontologically evil, and there's no act against them, which is wrong. That's not how things work. Except the pedophiles. You can do whatever you want to them. They're actually evil.
It's fitting that they chose Patrick Bateman, the American Psycho himself, as the pitcher for that one. But let's actually examine this idea that the radical left is rebelling against.
I make that joke, but I think pedophiles have a mental illness, and I think you can fix it. You know, I think it requires a lot of work, but I think you can fix it.
Against God for the crime of being. We can take God out of it, frankly. The analysis is the same. There's multiple levels to go down until we reach the bottom, so let's start digging. Level 1, where the socialist is simply self-interested.
You call it selling out your principles. I call it fucking winning. And that's my principle. To win as a socialist, not to lose as a socialist. That's not my principle. I don't give a fuck about principled failure. Principled failure is worth dog shit.
I'm not gonna argue with this. He's an actual pedophile, you know? He had Lolly, he's an actual pedophile. You know, he's already a bad person.
Have I used that clip too much recently? Okay, how about this one instead?
I don't think there's anything wrong with an individual maximizing their outcomes within an unethical system like capitalism, especially if they're a socialist, because it increases the likelihood that they'll be able to achieve political and economic.
So you're not a socialist at that point. You're a capitalist. If you're doing capitalist things in a capitalist society, that makes you a capitalist. You know?
Economic power.
It's not hard to find some conservative YouTube channel like Crowder's Change My Mind thing or Campus Reform, where the host interviews some dipshit university students and gets them to admit the most basic hypocrisies about their socialist ideals. The example on screen is about a GPA redistribution, where the left-leaning students are asked, why shouldn't we equalize the GPA of high-achieving students with low-achieving ones? The students all give the same reply, because the low-achieving ones didn't work as hard as they did. When confronted with the very real possibility that high earners and low earners in society function the same way, making income redistribution just as offensive as GPA distribution is, almost all of their brains shut down. This is a funny gotcha moment, sure, but it serves to show that a lot of young socialists are either idiots who haven't thought enough about their ideas, or they're entirely unprincipled and simply looking to do what.
You see, I would rather assume people are idiots than assume people are unprincipled, because you can't argue with someone that's unprincipled, because they're going to take any position that benefits them. They don't have a set position, you know? I think that's why Rosh was looking at Lolly, because it makes him feel good. It makes him feel good. So I should do it. That's his logic for anything, I think. That's what he said.
Benefits them.
That's what Vosh said. I will do what makes me feel good. Children make him feel good. Which is awful. Allegedly.
Distribution when they're on the bottom.
No, not allegedly. Come at me, Vosh.
Bottom, rugged individualism when they're on the top. Frankly, it's probably a bit of both. Level 2, where the socialist directly sides with a foreign evil, because at least it is not the familiar.
During the Vietnam War, we were actually the very first party in the U.S. To stage a demonstration against the Vietnam War in like 1968, when most people just kind of thought the war was whatever, you know, there wasn't a massive anti-war movement. And I think, you know, obviously the Vietnamese people themselves fought a heroic battle and gained their liberation from U.S.
Sorry. Replying to a YouTuber. I reply to, if you send me a, by the way, if you send me a comment on YouTube, I will always reply. I was just replying to one. I don't know if you saw it on the screen. It was Sunny Checks. Mm, Sunny Checks. Good. Go subscribe to him. Anyway.
Imperialism.
It's not hard to find people on the left who worship the genocidal totalitarian regimes of Lenin, Stalin, and Mao. And I don't just mean the
I don't know how I've heard of this stuff before. I don't know how you can justify any of their actions. Like, they all killed millions of people, sometimes tens of millions of people, and it's just like, some people are crazy.
Overt tankies, though obviously them. Even the bread tubers, the so-called libertarian socialists. While they might criticize the Soviet regime from time to time, especially during a debate with a non-socialist, where they know that an audience outside of their own insular crowd might be watching, catch them talking on their own, to their own communities, and you'll likely hear some variant of, well, socialist regimes around the world were sabotaged by capitalists who refused to trade with them. Because I guess socialism requires an outside capitalist society to keep trading with them if it's gonna work? Modern socialist
again, I think, some arguments are good, I get a bit chubby. Socialism is good for your waistline. I'm telling you, it's good for your waistline. Not good for much else, though. It's a lot worse for much else. But it's good for your waistline, And you've been having a lot of nachos lately.
Apologia ranges from the Holodomor was an accident, not a genocide.
At least I'm just taking the piss. The same people parroting about thoroughly debunked claims about the Yurgos also probably believe in the also thoroughly Yurgos also okay. This is a fucked up sentence. Let's try and read it. The same people parroting about thoroughly debunking claims about the Yurgos also probably believe in the also thoroughly debunked Nazi propaganda like the Holodomor. Let's look that up. It wasn't a fucked up sentence. I wasn't reading it right. Holodomor. I should. Okay, the Holodomor is also known as the Ukrainian famine, was a man-made famine in Soviet Ukraine from 1932 to 1933 that killed millions of Ukrainians. The Holodomor was part of the wider Soviet famine of 1930 to 1933, which affected the major grain-producing areas of the Soviet Union. Okay. Okay. Here's what this lady or man, wherever the fuck, where scholars are in consensus that the cause of the famine was man-made. Hey. Yeah. Nothing. consensus cause of the man. It remains in. Sorry, that was my sister. Dispute whether the holodommer were directed at Ukrainians and whether it consists of. 1 second. Sorry about that. Reigns in dispute. Basically, the genocide did happen.
Two, the kulaks deserved it for resisting collectivization, actually.
It's agreed that the genocide did happen.
Exceptionally grotesque. The Communist Party of Peru did not boil children alive, but they did occasionally use scalding water as a method of execution, which has to be the craziest commie simping I've seen yet. I made a video detailing this general idea in the past, revolving around this quote of Aristotle's. It is the mark of a tyrant to have men of foreign extraction rather than citizens as guests at table and companions, feeling that citizens are hostile, but strangers make no claim against him. I probably didn't do that video concept proper justice back then, but hey, we all get better over time. And while before I used the example of leftists loving immigrants as oddities from a foreign land while hating their own countrymen, I'll look at it from a different angle this time. Have you ever noticed that if you happen to know a couple where one partner is secretly abusive of the other, when you think about your interactions with them, you will begin to notice a pattern? More specifically, that the abusive person while at a social event with their partner is not only quick to brush off their partner's complaints, but also gracious with outsiders and heavily invested in keeping the peace. There's a limit to this, of course. There are
I have noticed that, unfortunately.
Extraordinary stories where the abuser snaps publicly, but you know what I mean. There's two reasons for this. One, it's because the abusive dynamic is a product of the relationship, and the abuser feels that outsiders should not be privy to it. Two, it's because the outsiders do not know the abuser in that way, and so they cannot peer into the darker parts of his soul. This is all just guesswork by me, but that idea maps onto Aristotle's view of tyrants well, and it also maps onto the socialist who is willing to support the evil other over his own familiar homeland. Level 3, where the socialist directly sides with domestic evil, because a socialist revolution must come from the margins of society.
What happened was the intellectual communists were...
I won't be reacting to short fact to Dev again, because it'll be just me agreeing with him. I want to react to somebody that maybe I don't agree with, or some informational stuff, because I'm having a hard time. I'm basically just going like, yeah. Okay.
Were sent out in cadres out into these little towns to find people who would help them round up the kulaks. So imagine you're in a town and there's 3 or 4 people, or maybe 10 people or something like that, who are a little more successful than everyone else. There's going to be some people who are not happy about it at all, that are going to be very resentful about that and jealous. And so when the intellectuals came in and described the reason that these people should be treated as parasites and profiteers, then it was the resentful minority in those towns, and that would be the kind of guy that hangs around in the bar all the time and is completely unconscientious and fails at everything and then blames everyone else for it. The intellectuals came in and said, this is unfair that this happened to you. You've actually been victimized, and now it's your opportunity to go have your revenge.
It's not hard to find people who are cruel for the sake of being cruel, and who have told themselves that it's because their politics are good and their targets are bad that justifies that.
I mean, everyone justified something to themselves, Whether it be good or bad, you always have justification for everything you do.
Cruelty. This makes the cruelty moral, and I say that word moral with heavy air quotes. This ranges from people playing cover for thieves, looters, and shoplifters, saying shit like, don't snitch on a thief stealing from a corporation, you didn't see nothing, or idiotically calling people racist for noticing the California ransacking problem, to people playing cover for riot.
How is that racist? I mean, are you assuming all of them are black? Now that's racist, actually.
Rioters and arsonists who destroy people's businesses and livelihoods by saying, oh, that's what insurance is for, lol. At least that's what they said during the George Floyd riots. Now that it's a gay bar getting arsoned instead, people are screaming about how insurance isn't enough. It's funny how that fucking works.
Because it's always okay unless it's your guy. The hypocrisy. Oh, I don't know how they. I wonder if they know they're being hypocritical or not. I wonder.
To people openly advocating for the death of their political opponents and the targets of their ire, and in some cases actually killing them.
So, Mayor, we're going to read that.
There's an arsonist who destroy people's businesses and livelihoods by saying, "Oh,
my business is downtown Kenosha, and you know what I did, y'all. Called and updated my insurance policy and made sure I would cover it. God forbid anything happened. It's all replaceable. It's exactly what insurance is for. You know what? Not replace for this man's life. Yeah. Take care of your stuff, people.
Oh, that's what insurance is for, lol. At least that's what they said during the George Floyd riots. Now that it's a gay bar getting arsoned instead, people are screaming about how insurance isn't enough. It's funny how that fucking works. To people openly advocating for the death of their political opponents.
Thanks for free publicity, Andy. Soon there will be no place in society for reactionaries like you. I'm running for city councilor in Long Beach. Called attempted murder suspect Eric Nina Cohan, a friend, Antifa. Our fundraising to get Antifa met. Well, what? Well, it sounds like he was only a suspect at the time. So, innocent until proven guilty. So, and they don't know if he did it or not. I mean, if they do, that's horrible. If they call for murder and support those who kill or try to kill
opponents and the targets of their ire.
Suspect in fatal Portland shooting of Trump supporter had gun in pocket when killed by task force official. Well, then it's good he died before he did something.
And in some cases, actually killing them. Again, viewing your enemies as ontologically evil. I also made a video on this topic as well, quite literally called The Identification with Evil, where I described the left's tendencies to claim as their heroes
we will react to this video.
Worst fictional characters possible, because those characters in rejecting the status quo were subversive. The fact that they were evil didn't actually matter. The video revolved around the New Guy meme, where the creator of that comic's moral compass was so twisted that she actually thought people were going to identify with her self-insert character, who was cruel and bitter, as opposed to the New Guy, who genuinely seemed to have a decency about him, solely because she viewed her politics as being correct. The issue here, ultimately, is that these people think that a correct politics actually exists, and that, of course, they have the vision of the perfect politics all the time. Then they're comparing themselves.
That's why you should always ask people about the beliefs you have. I always ask my friends, or I always bounce it off other people. Hey, what do you think about this? This okay to think? What do you think about this? This line of logic. Our friends are always honest. You should always want to test your beliefs. Otherwise, why do you have them? You know?
Their behaviors and their lives to that perfection, constantly falling short of it and becoming embittered by it, rather than doing what most sane and normal humans do, which is comparing yourself to who you were yesterday rather than some ideal perfect future, and spending your time and energy working on incremental change. This bitterness seems to be connected to a more general trend among millennials, which is steeped in cynicism and disappointment. They thought their lives would turn out differently, and rather than doing what they can, where they are with what they've got, they'd rather rage at everything around them and be cruel and drive away what little hope that remains. Level 4, where the socialist hates his own family because they, too, are bourgeois oppressors for properly working within the system, gaining and having capital, and expecting them to get a fucking job now that they're of age.
A lot of
And that has become a bigger problem of the Communist Party had gone from we must rise up, with men fighting and soldiers, to it become very late very lazy movement. The idea is to try and just make the system worse, so you change the system by being lazy. Fuck marriage, free love. Again, this guy's a pedophile.
A lot of people's interest in monogamy is insecurity. There, I said it, okay? If you have a girlfriend and you don't mind her hanging out with male friends, but you do mind them, her fucking those friends, that is a completely arbitrary standard that you...
Ivory! You fuck children.
You've set up?
No, you look at animated pictures of children.
It's not hard to find terminally online communists with failed relationships with their families. In fact, again, I did a video on this topic too, about how young people tend to hate their conservative parents, conservative small towns, and conservative upbringings. And after high school, they move to cities and universities to further radicalize. They constantly say and think, once these old people are dead, we'll be able to outvote the rest and finally build the socialist utopia. I should know, when I was a 19-year-old socialist, it's exactly what I said and thought too. A lot of these people come from extremely privileged backgrounds. Zoe Quinn of Gamergate fame came from the Van Valkenburg family. Her boyfriend during Gamergate was Alex Lifshitz, who hated his father while simultaneously living on his military contractor money. Vosh grew up in Beverly Hills, and his father has an extensive career working in Hollywood.
Again, a lot of these bread tubers are really rich. They don't know what hard work is.
Piker got to where he is because of
X is gonna give it to you.
Opportunities given to him by his uncle Cenk Uygur at the Young Turks, and he hit mainstream news for
It's easy to be a socialist when you have all the money, you know?
buying a Hollywood mansion. Even someone smaller like Keffels, the trans woman surrounding the recent Destiny drama. Yes, her time is coming on this channel. Calls herself working class, but her parents had the money to spring for her trips to South Korea and Thailand for expensive transitioning surgeries. Seriously, gather up all the progs and commies, put their picks on a dartboard, and throw. Whomever you hit, you will discover that they were people born with privilege. Level 5 is what Jordan Peterson talked about at the beginning. Hatred of being itself. And I get it. Being is hard. It's suffering. There's work involved. You're gonna die. Everybody you know and love will also die. Everything you build will fail. Every accomplishment you achieve.
I don't know if everything you build will fail. You know, obviously, that's completely false because, for example, Apple is old, really old. There are really old systems, really old companies that are still running. None of the society is built on really old things, you know? So I don't agree with that. Everything you build will fail. I don't think about, no, that's not true.
Eve will be undone, and there's nothing you can do to also die. Everything you build will fail. Every accomplishment you achieve will be undone.
No, I don't think they will. You know, there was a first man on the moon. You can't undo that accomplishment. There's random ones that come to my head. And you can't undo that because it happened.
Done. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. If you're very lucky, in 100 years' time, the sum total of your life, all of the ups and downs, all the stages of development, all of the memories, all of the accomplishments, all of the relationships, all of the experiences, will be reduced to nothing more than a single inaccurate story that your descendants...
That's not even true. All this stuff that what I'm talking right now is going to stay on the internet forever. It's just going to be on there forever. So it's not inaccurate because I believe it right now. It's saying it.
Will tell each other. And when those descendants die, it will be like you never even existed. The void waits for us all.
You're forgetting about the internet.
I think I deeply understand the people who have a hatred of being. And I think that is what's at the bottom of all of this. Revenge against the universe for having brought you into it. You didn't consent to bear the burden that is the suffering of life. It's not fair. And that's why school shooters do what they do, rather than simply offing themselves quietly since they want to die so badly. Because somebody has to be punished for that crime, and God's out of reach. So why not the people at school that made their lives a living hell? That's why every totalitarian...
I think he's reaching for this, because again, you can make people remember you. You know, George Washington, the reason why, you know, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, these are people that people are going to remember. Julius Caesar, you know, Tilda Hun,
regime, regardless of political slant, destroys whole populations and
Alexander the Great
moralizes about doing so, how this is for the greater good. Here's what's, in my opinion, Huxley's greatest quote. The surest way to work up a crusade in favor of some good cause is to promise people they will have the chance of maltreating someone, to be able to destroy with a good conscience, to be able to behave badly and call your bad behavior righteous indignation. That is the height of psychological luxury, the most delicious of moral treats.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Again, viewing your enemies as ontologically evil. It's not.
Wait, in his logic, would that be a correct quote or incorrect quote? Because I don't know.
Not hard to find people who exist at this level, who blindly hate based only on ideology.
Wait.
Not hard to find people who exist at this level, who blindly.
The question isn't what we think justice demands. I think killing little whatever children were justified, but it's not surprising. Why are you killing children? No.
Hate based only on
children.
Ideology, who advocate for
13 people murdered by Trump's death row killing spree. Well, it's good these people are dead. They did bad things to bad people. I mean, bad thing to good people, you know?
For widespread death, like all other tyrants before them, in the name of a greater good, who curse at the victims that they create because their existence is politically inconvenient. And though I have no examples to put on screen this time, I have met and seen many depressed leftists say things like widespread mental health problems are caused by capitalism, and I never asked to be born, I hate that I have to work to eat. These are the laws of nature. You will always have to work to live, regardless of social change. Mental health problems are not caused by
fact, even if capitalism didn't exist, you would have to go out there and gather your own food, you know?
Capitalism, but by your own cynicism about your inability to achieve the perfection you're addicted to. This attitude is the hatred of being itself. And all of this shit is endemic to socialism. Karl Marx himself would be right at home beside the blue-haired, plaid-wearing, verified Twitter hipster who hates his job and hates his parents and hates his life. We all know one of the more famous Marx quotes, "Religion is the opium of the masses." Here's the full quote. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. The abolition of religion as the illusory happiness of the people is to demand for their real happiness. To call on them to give up their illusions about their condition is to call on them to give up a condition that requires illusions. The criticism of religion is, therefore, in embryo, the criticism of that veil of tears of which religion is the halo. Criticism has plucked the imaginary flowers on the chain, not in order that man shall continue to bear that chain without fantasy or consolation, but so that he shall throw off the chain and pluck the living flower. Criticism of religion disillusions man, so that he will think, act, and fashion his reality like a man who has discarded his illusions and regained his senses, so that he will move around himself as his own true sun. These are the words of a man who is eternally at war with reality itself. This is the cry of rage at his inability to reach perfection. To really hammer the point home, I want to show you some letters to Karl Marx from Heinrich Marx, his father. Dear old dad's words about his son give us some insight into what kind of man Marx was. Frankly speaking, my dear Karl, I do not like this modern world, which all weaklings use to cloak their feelings when they quarrel with the world because they do not possess, without labor or trouble, well-furnished palaces with vast...
Well, that's the difference between me and Karl Marx. I don't mind doing hard work to get what I need. I want to join the military I want to make myself, I want to build a business and, I won't live forever, but the stuff I do will, potentially. So I want to facilitate that. That's the difference between me and Cara, I guess.
vast sums of money in elegant carriages. This embitterment disgusts me, and you are the last person from whom I would expect it. What grounds can you have for it? Has not everything smiled on you ever since your cradle? Has not nature endowed you with magnificent talents? Have your parents not lavished affection on you? Have you ever up to now been unable to satisfy your reasonable wishes? And have you not carried away in the most incomprehensible fashion the heart of a girl whom thousands envy you? Yet the first untoward event, the first disappointed wish, invokes embitterment. Is that strength? Is that a manly character? This criticism isn't a one-off either. On several occasions, we were without a letter for months, and the last time when you knew Edward was ill, mother suffering, and I myself not well, and moreover cholera was raging in Berlin, and as if that did not even call for an apology, your next letter contained not a single word about it, but merely some badly written lines and an extract from the diary entitled The Visit, which I would quite frankly prefer to throw out rather than accept, a crazy botch work which merely testifies how you squander your talents and spend your nights giving birth to monsters, that you follow in the footsteps of the new immoralists, who twist their words until they themselves do not hear them, who christen a flood of words a product of genius because it is
this is just an angry person.
Void of ideas or contains only distorted ideas. As if we were men of wealth, my son disposed in 1 year of almost 700 tailors, contrary to all agreement, contrary to all usage, whereas the richest spend less than 500. And why? I do him the justice of saying that he is no rake, no squanderer. But how can a man who every week or two discovers a new system and has to tear up old works laboriously arrived at, how can he, I ask, worry about trifles? How can he submit to the pettiness of order? Everyone dips a hand in his pocket, and everyone cheats him, so long as he doesn't disturb him in his studies. And a new money order is soon written again, of course. I must add, too, the complaints of your brothers and sisters. From your letters, one can hardly see that you have any brothers or sisters. As for the good Sophie, who has suffered so much for you, and Jenny is so lavish in her devotion to you, you do not think of her when you do not need her. I have paid your money order for 160 tailors. I cannot or can hardly charge it to the old academic year, for that truly has its full due. And for the future, I do not want to expect many of the same kind. Oh, by the way, that request from Marx to stop spending so much money went unheeded, as we can tell from a third letter. I am referring to the paltry matter of money, the value of which...
I mean, at that point, if your son is spending all your money, and then, I don't know what a tailor is. I assumed they were anyway. At that point, just cut off your son. Say no.
Which for the father of a family you still do not seem to recognize, but I do all the more. And I do not deny that at times I reproach myself with having left you all too loose a rein in this respect. Thus we are now in the 4th month of the law year, and you have already drawn 280 tailors. I have not yet earned that much this winter. I'm so...
Carl. Where's Karl Marx from? Germany. Okay, this is interesting. The German tael was a current. I assumed it was a currency. German tael was a currency used by several states of northern Germany from 1690 to 1873. First under just basically silver and gold.
Sorry for that gigantic block of text, but I really wanted to hammer the point home. Marx...
Yeah, looks like silver and gold. Yeah, silver and gold.
Marx was considered to be brilliant, but also depressive, manipulative, potentially even sociopathic. He treated his parents like a bank account. He only considered his family insofar as he could use them. His father was dismayed at who Marx was becoming, despite his talents and his upbringing. And as an adult, Marx went to war with being itself, and every other socialist follows in his footsteps. So when Jordan Peterson says that the bottom of all of this is punishment against God for the crime of being, if you're looking at that viral clip and thinking that it's just more Bible mumbo jumbo, you're not actually paying attention. I've said it before, I'm an atheist. I don't care about the God part of this conversation, but it's overwhelmingly clear to me that in a non-religious sense, Peterson is absolutely right. The bitterness and hatred and cruelty that drives a person to destroy those who are doing better than him because he cannot stand the sight of himself in the mirror every morning, since whenever he looks into it, he sees a failure, and he can't bear to take responsibility for that failure, so he's desperate to offload it onto anything else he can. If that's the rich, fine. If that's the system, so much the better. That feeling, those people, they're real. Socialism thrives on people like this. A lot of those replies to the viral clip from the beginning came from people genuinely too dumb to understand what's going on. But I have a hunch that a lot of them also came from people who know, deep down, that what Jordan Peterson is describing.
Okay.
And what I've described here, that's you, that you're the bitter, hateful, cruel person who would rather punish God for the crime of being than actually do something positive and work to build up their life. You terminally online dumb fucks are addicted to reading Twitter trending headlines 16 hours a day because social media makes the socialist movement look bigger than it actually is. You can get into your bubble and circle jerk about the
I basically agree with all this. We're gonna do one more dev video and then tomorrow, and then I will do some fat electrician because I like him. Anyway, thank you. Like, subscribe, and comment. Oh, hi, TV boy. Not yet. I'm sorry I didn't see you. Hi. Anyway, like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me what you think. The TV boy have a channel? Let's look it up. If he does, it looks like he may have a channel. Was that it? Yeah, that's it. Okay. Well, 137 subscribers. Well, thank you, TV boy. I will subscribe. Yeah. What kind of content do you like? I'll subscribe. I'll watch a couple of your videos. But thank you. Have a great day. And everyone else have a great day. Subscribe to TV boy. Subscribe to me. Okay, bye.